Hey guys, welcome back to Nerd Crave. And you know what? We just got the announcement. We didn't think it was going to happen actually, but we just got the announcement that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct tomorrow, the 21st of June. And that is some interesting news because a lot of us thought that Nintendo didn't really have an awful lot to talk about in the coming couple of months. They released kind of what everybody thinks is the swan song for the system, Tears of the Kingdom, the last game we think is going to, break into the 20 or 30 million sales. Of course, we have Pikmin 4 coming up, and okay, maybe we'll get a little bit more information about Pikmin 4 in the Direct. Of course, people have been wondering what's been happening with Metroid Prime 4. Is that coming before the end of the generation? We really have no information about that. But what can we expect to see in this Nintendo Direct? Well, I think everybody at this point is really wondering the same question because we know that we're coming to the end of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. And when Nintendo typically comes to the end of a console's life cycle, you start to see a lot of smaller games, a lot of little things to fill the gap because they're focusing their big IPs a lot of the time on the next generation, the next console coming down the pipeline. They need to have compelling software ready for the next generation, which presumably we're going to hear about by the end of the year or early next year. So you know for sure that those titles are in development right now, far along in development, close to completion. So we're not going to hear about any of those big games. Something like, I'm guessing, a Mario Odyssey 2 or another 3D Mario like that. We're probably not going to hear anything about that until we hear about the next generation of Nintendo devices. Something like another 3D Zelda is not going to happen because it's going to be another 6 or 7 years, I'm guessing, based on, development cycles and that sort of thing, before we see another brand new 3D Zelda. But of course, there are room for remakes and remasters and bringing things forward from older systems to newer systems. That happens all the time on all systems. So anyway, I've made a few point form lists here of some things that I would personally like to see and a few things that I think we are probably going to see or we might see tomorrow in this Direct. So first of all, Tears of the Kingdom is an amazing game, and we know that Breath of the Wild got a couple of substantial DLCs. Now, I think it's too soon for us to actually get the DLC, but I think we might get an announcement of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom DLC, first wave or something like that, coming to us maybe in the fall or something like that. We may get a release date and a trailer or something for the DLC showcasing what we might be able to see in terms of more from this fantastic game. So I think that's a pretty safe bet to think we will hear some more from Tears of the Kingdom for sure. Now, another thing that is pretty likely at this point, because we know that we are due, and that is Mario Kart tracks in the expansion pass, or if you've paid for the DLC expansion pack, you're going to get, I'm pretty sure we're going to hear some more about some more waves of Mario Kart tracks, because those are not done. We know we are going to get some more. Of course, there is a very good likelihood that we will hear a little bit more about NSO, Nintendo Switch Online. We will probably get a few more games either teased, announced, or even shadow dropped right into that service. So keep your eyes open for that. Of course, if you have the expansion pack tier, the higher tier, you have access to Game Boy Advance and N64, as well as the lower tier being Super Nintendo and Nintendo. We have Sega Genesis, of course. So there's a lot of potential for them to create some excitement just out of some of those old games. Next thing I think is pretty likely is that we're going to see something from the Kirby franchise, something small probably, but they seem to do something with Kirby every single year. At least they have, with the Switch generation. We had last year, a year and a half ago, we had Kirby in the Forgotten Land, the big 3D thing from HAL Laboratories, and then we had Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and we also had Kirby's Dream Buffet, which was this kind of multiplayer Fall Guys sort of a scenario. So I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see some other small Kirby title come to the Nintendo Switch. It may be something cheap, a $15 or $20 title that explores some other aspect of the Kirby universe. And then there have been rumors for literally 2 years or more that we are getting another game in the Donkey Kong series. This has been coming for a while. There's not been a lot of news about this. People are speculating whether it's a 2.5D game or another big 3D game like Tropical Freeze, but there's been a lot of credible rumors floating around for like a couple years or more now that we are getting a Donkey Kong game on the Nintendo Switch that is unique to the Switch, because of course Tropical Freeze is a Wii U port. So that is entirely possible. I'm not, stirring the pot here. I'm just talking about some of the rumors because Nintendo is going to need to wrap up some loose ends in the next 6 months or so before they premiere their new system. So if there ever was a Donkey Kong game in development for the Nintendo Switch, it's probably got to come out sometime in the near future. There have been recently rumors of a 2D Mario. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe we are going to get a 2D Mario. I think if they had a new Mario game in development, they would have released it a little bit closer to the release of the Mario movie so that they could have advertised those in tandem. But if we do get a new 2D Mario, that would be interesting because we generally do have a 2D and a 3D Mario on each Nintendo console, and both the Mario games, well, all the Mario games that we have on the system except for Odyssey are ports from older systems. We have 3D World, we have Mario and Luigi U, and, these are ports from the Wii U. We don't really have a 2D Mario that is unique to the Nintendo Switch. So that might be interesting to see, but I don't really think that's going to happen. There have been rumors flying around for literally years of a combo pack of Zelda, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. And I think with them having a lighter release schedule post Tears of the Kingdom, keeping hype on the Zelda train going through the end of this year, keeping things up, I think it would be a good idea for them to release that combo pack of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, or even each of them, separately. Nintendo being Nintendo, they may release them digital only or something, who knows, but it will be interesting to see if that ever comes to fruition, because this has been a rumor that has just been flying for almost as long as the Switch has existed, and we've seen Wii U ports one after another. So many of the Wii U's best games have been moved forward to the Nintendo Switch, so why not these, the HD versions of these fantastic 3D Zelda titles? And then I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see some kind of Fire Emblem announcement, whether that ends up being a mobile game or something, or whether that ends up being a remaster or a remake or something like that. There are a ton of Fire Emblem games from the past that either never made it to North America or really never had their chance to shine. We just got the announcement of the Fire Emblem game from the Game Boy Advance being put into the NSO, but I think now could be a good time to bring forward something from the DS, like Shadow Dragon, for example, give it a remaster treatment and put that out. Is this too much of a wish list? Is this too crazy? I'm just spitballing ideas here of things that they could do, smaller, easier projects that they can keep the momentum for the Nintendo Switch until that next piece of hardware comes out. So Fire Emblem Remaster, could it happen? I would love to see that for sure. And then F-Zero GX. We have had rumor after rumor that there is an F-Zero remake in production, that it's been, in production for a while. Some people even say it's done, and Nintendo's just waiting for the right time to release that. Well, now is the right time with, presumably 6 to 12 months before the end of this life cycle if they have something like this in the oven, it's time to take that out and, serve it to the public. And then another game, Persona 3 Reload. We don't have an awful lot of information about this, but it's curious that it has not been announced for the Nintendo Switch, because Persona 4 and Persona 3 were put on the Nintendo Switch, and Persona 5. It looks like Persona 3 Reload could run on the Switch just based on the graphics that we've seen in the trailer, and it has been announced for Xbox and PlayStation, but not for the Nintendo Switch. So I think there's a pretty good chance that we will see that announced in tomorrow's Direct as well. And then the last thing that I have been hearing rumors about is Shin Megami Tensei 5, which came out, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it has some DLC and stuff. There's been some rumors that there's going to be a complete or deluxe edition of that game that includes all the DLC and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if that gets announced, or if that's maybe in a sizzle reel or something like that. And then, of course, Nintendo being famous for all of its indies and smaller games, I think it is very safe to say that we're probably going to see information about, probably a couple dozen smaller games, indie games that are in development, that are coming out very soon. So stay tuned, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below about what you would like to see in tomorrow's Direct. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.